Thank you to John Hope Bryant and his foundation for inviting me to speak to you guys today. I really appreciate to give me this opportunity. I'm so very excited. If somebody would have told me that my life would be this, I definitely wouldn't have believed it. Maybe the NFL aspect of it, but not this. A lot of you guys kind of know who I am, so I will spare you the details. I kind of grew up about 3 hours south of here in a small town called Glenville, Georgia. It's about 3,500 people. Two traffic lights, and the only thing that I've ever wanted to do, guys, really, in all honesty, the only thing that I really ever wanted to do, I wanted to make my grandparents proud. And I just remember growing up, and everybody had role models. I really never looked outside of my home for a role model because everybody that I looked up to was at my dinner table: my grandfather, my grandmother, and my brother. And so that's kind of the backdrop of how I came, who I am and what I came to be. Growing up on a farm in rural South Georgia, obviously hard work was a prerequisite. There was no excuses. We didn't make excuses. We had accountability. And I'm still big on accountability as I ventured into something else. And it's easy to have accountability when you're doing something for yourself. Like when I was a professional athlete, I was accountable to me. But now you run a business, you want everybody to be accountable. There's no excuses. We get the job done and we don't ask questions why. Went to Savannah State, obviously, Savannah State in the house? That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Proud alum. Went to Savannah State, got a degree in criminal justice with a minor in history. Stayed there for 4 years, went back and got my degree once I went to the NFL. Went to the NFL, played 14 years where I was a pretty good football player. But guys, at the end of the day, football was what I did. That's not who I am. I'm very proud of the man that you see stand before you today. But it's not without a lot of trials and tribulations that I'm able to be who I am and what I've become. Like I said, the only thing I really wanted to do was make my grandparents proud, get my grandmother out of that situation. I know a lot of you guys have probably heard the story of growing up in 1,000 square foot cinder block home, cement floors, a tin roof, no indoor plumbing, no running water. We went outside to go to the bathroom until I was 20 years of age. Never took in a shower in a house until I was 20 years of age. And those things, I just remember thinking like, Lord, there's no possible way everybody's living like this. And it allowed me to dream. Although my body was in Glenville, Georgia, my mind was a million miles away. And in the process of that, it allowed me to escape what was my reality. But I also knew that there had to be something better, and I just had to get at it. And just as a young man growing up, I'm the youngest. My sister is 8 years older than myself. My brother is 3 years older than me. And I just remember when I would play high school sports, where all my other friends and my teammates would go out after the game, I would go home and be with my grandmother because I was a granny's boy. I slept with my grandmother until I was 15 years of age. If you're from the South, my grandparents didn't sleep in the same bed. My brother slept with my grandfather, I slept with my grandmother. And when my grandfather passed away, I didn't go sleep in the bed with my brother. I stayed with my grandmother until he left and went to college, which was 1983, and I was 15 years of age. My grandmother was my end-all, be-all. And as I said, the only thing that I ever wanted to do, I just wanted to make Granny proud. And how could I make my grandmother proud? I just remember, and you guys have probably heard me say a lot of quotes that my grandfather and my grandmother, I can remember everything that my grandfather ever said. My grandfather passed when I was 8 years of age. I can remember every single word he said in my presence. And I just remember him sitting my brother and I down. He said, boys, I don't care what you become in life. He said, just never have to look me and your granny in the eye and say, I'm sorry. He didn't care what we become, but just enough to have to say, I'm sorry. And I've kind of lived with that my entire life. Make my grandmother proud without saying I'm sorry. Guys, am I perfect? No. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I realized I wasn't perfect because I tried to live a perfect life. I tried to do everything by the book. And then it just dawned, I remember my sister saying, Shannon, you're not perfect. Why do you keep trying to be perfect? Because I thought that's what everybody expected me to be, was perfect. and I wasn't. And then once I realized that, I realized it wasn't what happened to me that defined me. It's what I did after what happened to me that defined me. I remember in 1986, it was like late July. And my high school teammate that was going to Savannah State, he and his mom was gonna pick me up and take me down to school. We were gonna enroll in school. We were going to school because we had practice the next day. And I remember I had two, they were either Winn-Dixie or Piggly Wiggly shopping bag, grocery bag, brown paper bags, with everything that I owned in those two bags. And I remember getting those, he blew the horn. And I remember, because as I could walk out the door, my grandmother's room was back there, so she could see me. And so they blew the horn. And I remember saying, "Granny, I'm gone." And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is really the first time that I'm gonna leave her home. I'm 18 years of age, and I really never left my grandmother's home for any significant amount of time. I'd gone to 4-H camp about twice, that was for a week, but here I was gonna be gone for an extended period of time. Probably wasn't gonna be able to get back until Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking my grandmother's gonna get out of bed and she's gonna go through all these spiel of Shannon, hey, do your homework, Shannon, be respectful, Shannon, iron your clothes, Shannon, treat people the right way. My grandmother did not get out of bed. As I walked out the door, I'm thinking to myself, she's thinking to herself, I've tried to instill in this boy right from wrong for 18 years. A 10-minute speech now wasn't gonna work. I left my grandmother's home a boy. When I got in that car and we drove down that dirt road, now I have become a man. Everything that her and my grandfather had instilled in me for those 18 years was gonna be put to the test. Because discipline requires you to do your very best when no one else is watching. See, I know you'll do the right thing if somebody's watching you. You see, a lot of times, Grandpa used to say, boy, if you give somebody the choice to do right or wrong, and there's no one there to hold them accountable for the wrong, more times than not, people will do wrong. And I'm not just talking about the most heinous acts. I'm talking about speeding, I'm talking about littering, whatever the case may be, right or wrong, and there's no one there to hold you accountable for the wrong, more times than not, people will do wrong. This was my opportunity to put all those values, all those instructions that my grandfather and my grandmother had instilled in my brother, my sister, and I for 18 years, let's put them to the test. So when my teammates wanted to go do things, that wasn't for me. Because I stepped on Savannah State campus and I remember them the first day of practice, I told them, I said, I'm going to the NFL. I said, I take this serious. Oh man, you ain't going nowhere. I said, okay. I said, okay, we're gonna see. After the first day of practice, I could hear him whispering, man, he's serious, man. He wasn't playing out there. Nope. And that was my thought process. And so now I got two goals in mind. Mary Porter sent me to Savannah State for two reasons. Go to the NFL and get a degree. Now I didn't know which one was gonna happen first, but they were both gonna happen. Because I wasn't gonna go somewhere for 4 years and be further away from graduating than when I went there. So when people ask me, where did I go to school, where did I graduate from? I graduated, I just didn't go to school. Now, I will be honest and tell you guys this, the first couple of years I did major in eligibility. I had to make sure I stayed on the field. But going to Savannah State was probably one of the best decisions in my life because it gave me an opportunity, because I really got an opportunity. And I had some instructors at Glenville High School. Miss Elaine Keels was my Spanish teacher, and y'all heard me tell the story that she said I was in remedial reading. And I remember her telling me, say, well, Shannon, if you take Spanish, it's gonna help your reading. I said, Miss Keels, the only thing that's gonna help me do is repeat the 10th grade. That's all Spanish is gonna do. But when I got to Savannah State, I was in remedial reading, I was in remedial math, and I had all what they call developmental studies. In other words, I was remedial because I was behind. Because all I did was bull jive in high school. I was such a great athlete, I didn't take anything serious, especially school. And I remember the first day of class, I was in my remedial reading class, and a lady named Joyce McLemore was my instructor. And so she's calling on us, and we're reading, and she's calling on us, and I'm pronouncing words, and I'm giving her the definition of words. And I remember after class, she calls me up, and to this day, she still called me Mr. Sharpe. She said, Mr. Sharpe, can I talk to you for a second? I said, yes, ma'am. So I walk up to her desk, and she's sitting down. She didn't stand up, she sat down. She put her arm around my waist, and she looks up at me. She said, now next quarter, because we was on the quarter system then, she said, Mr. Sharpe, you too smart to be in here. You have no business being in this class. She said, now next quarter, I don't want to see you in this class. I said, yes, ma'am. I got out. I had English. Joanne Green, she was my English. Man, I remember the first time we had to write an essay. I said, did I write in red ink or did she correct me in red ink? Because I said, ain't no way I made this many mistakes. I said, come on, lady, you got to be kidding me. And again, because back then, I don't know if they still have it, you had to pass the regents. So what you do, they have you to write an essay. They give you 2 or 3 topics, and you have to pick one topic, and you have to write an essay. They send your essay out to Georgia Southern and Fort Valley and other instructors to grade you. And then they didn't tell you, so they put your name up on the board. They didn't know who you were a number. So you go up on the board, and it's like yes or no. So I'm going up there, okay, the regents' results are back. Boy, my heart is beating fast. I said, Lord have mercy. I go up there, and I'm like, and I look, I said, nah, they can't be mine. I look again, passed. Whew, out of there. Whew. Hold on, math. Me and that math, once we got past timetables, me and math had a problem. I don't know what it is that, that carry the 1 and subtract the 2 and the pi. Oh, Lord. It was easy when they said if you had 3 slices and you gave somebody 2, how many slices did you have? I was killing when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. But after that, me and math didn't do too well. But I got out of all those developmental study classes. And I just remember I went to my advisor and I said, I want to take overloads because I'm so far behind. My fall quarter, spring quarter, summer quarter, fall, winter, and spring. So I'm behind, I'm a whole year behind. And it's like, and he was like, Mr. Sharpe, you do realize you were in remedial classes your entire freshman year. I was like, yes, I understand. I'm like, well, what does that got to do with me right now? I'm in regular classes now and I want to, so I took 21 hours. I stayed in class. I'm like, dang. I'm sure not getting an opportunity to enjoy the college experience except being in the library and studying. And once I got out of there, it was like a weight that was lifted off of me because I knew, even though I never told my grandmother that I was in developmental study classes, I never told her the progress that I was making. I knew she would have been very proud of me. And so now that gave me an opportunity that I can focus on my work, but now I can become the best football player that I could possibly become. And Coach Davis, Bill Davis, man, I love that man to life. Rest in peace, Coach Davis. I wish you saw a large part of my career, but I wish you could see the finished product because that man believed in me like he was a father, like he was a family member. That man believed in me, and I don't know if I'm here without him because there were times that I was like, he's like, son, you good enough. He said, I've coached a lot of players that's gone to the NFL, and I believe you're the best one I've had. And so it was him that gave me the confidence to do what I was able to do. I get to Denver, and I just thought, guys, I thought like once you got drafted, you're on the team. That's what I thought. Okay, I went to college. They gave me a scholarship. I'm on the team. Didn't work like that, especially for a 7th round draft pick. And so the last cut, one of the coaches come to me. He said, Shannon, your name is on the board to be released after this game. He says, now, I don't know what's going to happen. He said, but I tell you this. If I was you, I would go out there and play as hard as I possibly could. He said, because this tape from this game is going to go to the other, I think it's 28 teams at the time. It may be a little less, maybe a little more. He said, and they're going to look at it, and then maybe there's something that you could show that they'll be interested in. I'm driving to the stadium, and it starts to rain. I'm a wide receiver. If it's raining, they're not going to throw any passes. So now how am I going to show what I can do? I go out there, I'm on special teams. I don't get into the game until the fourth quarter, but I'm on special teams from the jump. I'm tackling everything. I felt like I was Lawrence Taylor out there. I was tackling everything. Come in the next morning, my name's off the board. I make it. Dan Reeves, rest his soul, he calls me in his office about week 10 or week 11. This is how God worked. Every tight end that was in front of me, because they had moved me to tight end. Well, they didn't move me yet. I was a wide receiver, but I was the biggest wide receiver we had. And Steve Antonopoulos, who was our athletic trainer, says, you know what, Dan want to talk to you. You know what that means, coach want to talk to you, it ain't good. I said, damn. I said, man, here we are like week 12, week 13, I'm about to get cut this far into the season. So he calls me and I sit down in his office and he can see I'm nervous. He said, nah, you're not gonna get cut. He said, what do you think about moving to tight end? I said, am I gonna get to play Coach Reeves? He said, yeah, you gotta learn the plays, but you'll get an opportunity to play. He said, son, you too big, too fast, too strong not to make a decent living in the NFL. He said, but if you learn the plays, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know the receiver plays. How am I gonna learn these plays? That's why I'm not playing now, because I don't know the plays. So, first game, I don't know not one tight end play. They put me in motion the entire game. What you guys see when the guy go behind the quarterback, that's what they did the entire game. But as they're doing this, John would turn around and tell me to play. You got to out. Run a corner. He did that for the entire game. Now, he got to tell me what I got to do. He has to read the defense. He has to make sure, get the line, the slide one way, Rip, Liz, Lucy. And so after the game, we won the game. So I'm standing on the sideline. I'm tired. We're in Mile High Stadium, and I can see John coming up to it out the corner of his eye. He's like, I think we need to learn the plays next week. I said, yeah, I think we do also. But guys, being in the NFL, it taught me a lot. It taught me how to deal with people, because a lot of times you're dealing with people that doesn't come from the same background you do. You're dealing with white, black, Asian, Latino, different socioeconomic backgrounds, whatever the case may be, different religions, origin, whatever the case may be. So it taught me how to deal with people. It taught me how to take a step back. You see, the one thing that my grandmother, if she didn't give me anything else, she gave me empathy. She gave me compassion. And see, in order for you to have empathy, you have to divorce yourself, because you have to see yourself as someone else. And arrogantly, a lot of us don't want to see ourselves as someone else. That couldn't be me. I never think. I just met John Hope, and I told him shook his hand, and I said, hey, I'm Shannon Sharpe. He's like, bro, I know who you are. You're right. I said, but I'm not arrogant enough to think that everybody does. So every time I meet somebody, I always give them that spiel. My football career is what it is. I was very fortunate to go to a great situation in Denver. I had coaches that believed in me, players that wanted to be a part, that wanted me to succeed. I played for three things. I wanted my teammates' respect, I wanted the coaches' trust, and I wanted the fans' appreciation. That's all I wanted. I didn't care about how many passes I caught. Coaches would tell you I never complained about how many passes I caught. That was your job. You were the coach. Your job was to find ways to get me the football if you wanted to win. And if you didn't, and if you didn't get me the job, you get me the ball, that's on you. And so obviously I won Super Bowls. I was a Pro Bowl player. I got a gold jacket. And I'm proud of that. I really am. But I think what I'm most proud of now is what I'm doing, because I really have to trust my team. I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. My EP, CJ, of Club Shay Shay is here. Where's CJ? CJ is here. CJ is my rear view. because sometimes objects are closer than they appear. And he can protect my blind spots. Ash is my EP of Nightcap. She's also my rear view because she protects my blind spots. Because I'm smart enough, their job, and I'm not the smartest in the room. When we're in the room and we're talking, I'm not the smartest. Because if I'm the smartest in the room, I need to hire other people. Their job is to keep Shay Shay Media to the front. CJ's job is to he'll run things by me. He'll ask, I'll say, what do you think about this guest? What do you think about that guest? And then we come up with a game plan. What's the best way to attack and try to extract the most information out of said individual? Cat, that was very easy. he didn't take a lot of prepping to get him going. But at the end of the day, what we've been able to accomplish at Shay Shay Media with Club Shay Shay, with Nightcap, Club 520, Bubba Dub, is that the conversation arm of Club Shay Shay, what we try to do is that we try to have guests that are entertaining and have a great story to tell. And I know people say, well, Shannon, you guys are messy. The one thing that we ask, and CJ will tell you, I always ask the guests, is there anything that you don't wish to talk about? Because I believe the guests that we have on our show, we can talk for 90 minutes or 120 minutes without mentioning the most salacious details of their life. I believe that. But I tell you what I do, is that when we have a guest on, I've never seen another interview with said individual. And because I haven't, when they come and they sit across from me, they can look at me and tell, this man is not judging me. If you don't judge a person, if a person realizes that you're not judging, they're more apt to open up and tell you things that they normally wouldn't share. And a lot of times, people will come on the couch and they say, well, I'm gonna share something that I've never shared before. Because they look at me and they realize that I'm not judging them. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to have a conversation with you. You tell as little and as much as you like. Whatever the case may be, this is your story. Hopefully someone gathers something from it. With Nightcap is a little different. Obviously, Ocho and I, we're there to entertain, we're there to educate you, we're there to inform you. The entertainment aspect, I think it speaks for itself. What we try to do when we have sponsors or advertisers say, look, you know what you're getting authenticity. We map a plan. Okay, CJ, what is this company? What are they about? Ash, what is this company about? Okay, how do we stay true to who they are, stay true to who we are, while bridging the two sides together? And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I think everybody that's been a part of Club Shay Shay, been a part of Club Nightcap, 520 Bubba Dub, I think they're very, very, very happy with what we've been able to deliver. And that's what we try to over-deliver. Because at the end of the day, I want people to say that was a great experience. I love the way working with this. I love working with Shay Shay Media, and we got more than what we bargained for. That's it. If we promise you X amount of views, we try to double that. We promise you X amount of impressions. We're gonna go above and beyond to make sure it's a great experience, because we want you to come back. We don't want it to be a one-quarter thing or a one-time thing. We want it to be a reoccurring theme. We want it to be a partnership, because that's what it is. And that's what we've been able to do. I'm so proud of this company and the way it's grown. Let me tell you how Club Shay Shay came about. Fox put it in my contract that I was gonna have to do a podcast. And I was like, I don't wanna do no podcast, I'm working enough. I mean, doing a show 2.5 hours a day, I have to prep for the show, and then I have to go, with with Ash, who was my runner, my EP at the time. I was like, I don't really have time to do a podcast. And they say, well, you signed the contract, and so you're gonna have to do a podcast. I said, okay. So now the pandemic starts, and CJ at the time was working at Fox, and CJ was like, man, you gotta do this podcast. I say, CJ, I don't even know what a podcast is. What are we gonna talk about? He's like, man, Joe Rogan. I said, yeah, I know Joe Rogan does. I say, but do you even make money doing a podcast? He's like, yeah. I say, so what am I gonna do? He's like, you should, have people come on and come. I was like, who are we gonna get? I say, do we got bookers or anything? He's like, go in your phone and call the most famous people you know and see if they'll come on. Snoop, I need a favor, bro. Hey, Cube, Master P, Rick Ross, Floyd, Obviously my brother was a no-brainer. So I got 10 of the most famous people that I knew, and I asked them, I'm starting a podcast, would you be interested in coming on? Oh, we got you, bro, no problem. And that kind of gave, because we started out with such heavyweights, that kind of gave us the credibility that we needed, that, okay, Shannon is a major player in this space. But if you notice, I've never said I've interviewed anybody. I sit down and have a conversation with them. Now, look, guys, if y'all want hard-hitting questions, y'all want Dateline, 48 hours, 60 minutes, y'all go to those places and get that. Shannon's gonna have a conversation. It's gonna be a lot of laughing. They're gonna tell their story. That's their story. I'm not there to refute anything that's going on in their story. And I think we've had, 150, 160 CJ interview conversations. I think of those 150, 160, I think you would have to ask those individuals what was their experience like. Now, obviously, you're not gonna be 160 and 0, but I would like to think that people that have come on Club Shay Shay, that's really, really enjoyed their experience. And I've enjoyed it equally as much because I learned something about them that I didn't even know. And that's the best part about having my job, because I believe I have the best seat in the house, because I'm asking the questions and I'm hearing it firsthand knowledge. And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, man, I can't wait till my viewing audience and my listening audience hear this conversation for the first time. They're gonna be equally as excited as I am. Nightcap is something entirely different. It's really, Nightcap, we come on late at night, so hopefully you're adult. Look, we have a lot of times we have very serious conversations about relationships. Sometimes we have serious conversations about sports and things like that. We do talk about finances because, those are things that people talk about every day in life. Sports, finances, relationships. Sometimes we get a little edgy, but I think, people understand that as well. But what Shay Shay Media has been able to accomplish with great team, I like to think that I've surrounded myself with the best support team that I possibly can. Never in my wildest imagination that I think I'd be a businessman, but here I am standing before you with a bludgeoning, a big company that's growing. We're doing, I got a production team and we're sitting down writing, coming up with game shows, coming up with talk shows, coming up with other things that doesn't require my face. And so I'm very, very proud. What I'm most proud of is that when I have opportunities like this, because if somebody would have told me I would have an opportunity like this to have people know who I am and to hear people say Unc and call me Shay Shay and we love what you do, we love what you've been able to accomplish, I would not have believed it, even if you would have just asked me this 5 years ago. Because when I lost my job about 2023, in June of 23, I didn't really know what I was gonna do. All I know is that I had Club Shay Shay, and that was gonna be what I was gonna be doing until the meantime. But Stephen A. reached out, I got First Take, and now I'm on regular, signed a long-term deal with them. Club Shay Shay. Man, what Stephen A. did for me, I will ever be indebted for him, because I didn't know, because for the longest time, we were competitors. And I know I would always see Stephen A. from different places, Super Bowl from time to time, NBA All-Star Game, and things of that nature. I would see him around, but we didn't have that type of relationship. Man, when that man reached out and said, hey, bro, I want you. And then I got an opportunity to talk to Jimmy Pitaro and Burt Magnus, and obviously the head of Disney, Bob Iger. And they say, we want you aboard. That was an unbelievable feeling. And now to see what we've been able to accomplish, CJ and Ash and Jordan and all the people that are part of Shay Shay Media, it's unbelievable, it's humbling. And I do realize this, that everybody is not gonna be happy for your success. And sometimes, I found myself, you gotta be careful what you tell people, because sometimes you're educating the devil. I had to learn that the hard way. Thank you guys, I really, really appreciate you.